Saturday, December 26th, 2015. Derek Davis and Rob Vino with SportsBettingToday.us and Rob Vino Sports. Lots of bowl games today. Let's go with the final one here tonight. Game 235, 236, 9:15 p.m. Eastern kickoff for the Foster Farms Bowl at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. Nebraska against UCLA. UCLA minus 5.5 with a total of 62 in this one. Game open at UCLA minus 6 and a total of 60. Weather should not be a factor in this one. Very light wind, if any at all. Mid to high 40s, or mid to low 40s rather, during the game. Nebraska, Rob, a 5-win team in a bowl game. Their marquee win, obviously, the win over Michigan State. But other than that, maybe the win against Southern Miss, something for them to hang their hat on. But not a great squad here, Rob. Obviously happy to be in a bowl game anytime you can do it, especially if you can do it at 5-7. UCLA, probably pretty disappointing season in the eyes of the UCLA faithful here this year. I know talent-wise, Rob, there's probably not another team in the Pac-12 with the talent that Southern Cal does, that UCLA has. Yet, when it came time to prove themselves against Arizona State, Stanford, Washington State, Southern Cal, they weren't able to do so. Really pretty poor showings in those games against some of the better teams there in the Pac-12. So maybe a spot here where Nebraska could sneak up on UCLA and upset them here. If there ever was a time when a 5-win team could get a win in a bowl, it might be here in the Foster Farms Bowl, Rob, in Santa Clara, with a UCLA team that might have already lost interest in this season.
When you start dealing with this game, Derek, that's exactly where you start from if you're looking to play the underdog side, Nebraska Cornhuskers here. For UCLA, they come off a season which didn't really pan out the way they wanted it to, and it closed with a thud as they were beaten pretty well by USC in their in-state, in-conference rivalry match at the end of the season. How much do they have left in the tank to come out and play a strong game against Nebraska? On the other side, Nebraska at 5-7, first year of Mike Riley's tenure. We'll get to that in a minute. But certainly they're thankful to be where they are. They accepted a bowl bid as one of the 5-7 teams. I know Missouri turned one down, but Nebraska did accept their bid, which shows you that they want to play this game. They wanted the extra practice sessions. When you look at Nebraska, you have to look beyond the 5-7 straight up record and realize that this team lost 5 games this year by 5 points or less. Now maybe you could scratch one of those out or counter one of those by saying, hey, they beat Michigan State on a play that should not have even counted, but that still leaves you with 4 other games where they lost by less than 5 points. They're in every game here. They've got a lot of flaws statistically, but yet when the final scores roll in, they seem to be in all of these games. I mentioned 5 points because they're getting now 5.5 here. You can catch some 6s out there still, but they're right within that price range. So Tommy Armstrong and the offensive unit, which has really been the team's worst enemy this year because they can move, not because they can't move the football, because they can move it up and down the field on just about anybody. But the fact that they've turned it over so much this season, they have to avoid turnovers in this game. It's very hard to predict turnovers, but when a team has turned it over as much as they have, I think your first inclination is to think that, well, they'll probably turn it over here too. Maybe, maybe not. UCLA, remember, is a team that was absolutely gutted by injury to start the season. For UCLA, no team could have been hit harder than they were hit right up the gut of their defense. First, it was Eddie Vanderdoes, certainly going to play on Sundays in the NFL. Eddie Vanderdoes goes down right off the bat with a knee injury in their first game. You follow that up with Miles Jack in week 3. Again, going to be an NFL draft pick, probably first or second round. You lose him at the linebacker position, so now you've lost your best defensive lineman, your best linebacker, and then they lose their best cover corner in Fabian Moreau. the same week that they lose Miles Jack. So you're hurt on all three levels, and with three of your best guys on your team, all three future NFL players, and yet still somehow, some way, Jim Mora's team at times was able to come up with some good defensive efforts. Not constantly, not consistently, because they were pummeled in some games on defense. I don't know how much that defense can stop Nebraska in this game, which for UCLA, I think not only from a focus standpoint, but from a offensive standpoint, puts a lot of pressure on quarterback Josh Rosen to go out with his offensive weapons and win this game. If they come to play, they can do it. Paul Perkins is the best running back in this game. He belongs to UCLA. Josh Rosen, we have seen on more than one occasion, absolutely shred defenses, even though he is a freshman. Chosen Rosen, whatever nickname you want to give him, the guy's been very good at times and certainly shows us why UCLA, or why he was so highly touted coming into college, and why UCLA's future is going to be so bright the next couple of years. His receiving core against the Nebraska defensive secondary that's been shredded all season long. The receiving core features Jordan Payton and Thomas Duarte. Remember that UCLA has had some injuries in the receiving core, but they should be healthy here. These guys can certainly have their way if they come to play against Nebraska's secondary. So you're talking about a UCLA offense that can do some damage, Nebraska offense that can do some damage, but you have a UCLA team, you don't know the mindset. Therein lies the problem. I know a lot of guys um, that are on this game, and like the Nebraska side, the underdog side, the team that they are positive will come to play with an effort, and a team that has played a tough schedule. You know, they've gone through some tough Big Ten opponents, and a team that has come close, at least closer than this point spread indicates, at plus 5.5, plus 6 in a lot of their games, even if they lose. So, yeah, Nebraska is a very, very tempting underdog here. Weather conditions, like you say, Derek, will be good. Won't have any problems out at Levi Stadium, Santa Clara, California. You know, the turf was an issue last year. Haven't heard too much about the turf being an issue this year. They finally got that fixed in this stadium. So I think I'd probably lean a little bit toward the Nebraska thinking here. If you can catch 6 points, I think maybe that's a good way to go. But should once again be a fairly entertaining game. Power ratings suggest UCLA on this neutral field is about 7 points better. So it's kind of in line with the opener here, which was -6. I think Nebraska plus the points might be a way to look if you want to play this one.